representatives of political parties and independent candidates, ladies and gentlemen. The law in Zimbabwe has provisions for the prevention, management, and peaceful resolution of disputes related to elections through the judicial system and alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. These provisions are in line with the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, commonly known as Achipiri, the African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance of 2007, and SADC Principles and Guidelines governing democratic elections in 2004, which were revised in 2015. In the Zimbabwean landscape, the critical institutions and mechanisms involved in electoral dispute resolution include the courts, Chapter 12 commissions, multi-party liaison committees, the codes of conduct for political parties and other stakeholders, and statutory committees such as the Media Monitoring Committee and the Special Investigation Committee. However, these institutions, having institutions in place and effective use of them are two different things altogether, in my respectful view. It does not always guarantee success, as it is always important to go beyond the rhetoric in order to achieve results. While Zimbabwe has one of the best electoral dispute resolution mechanisms on paper, again, in my very considered view, the polarized political environment often clouds the good that has been achieved to date. The existence of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, the Zimbabwe Media Commission, and the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, while progressive, has been undermined partly by the toxic political environment of this country and the lack of respect for these institutions by some stakeholders. Further, the absence of elaborate procedure in the law for these institutions to deal with transgressions has also contributed to diluting the intended outcome for the creation of these institutions in the first place. What was the intention of Parliament in creating these institutions? It has removed the sting in the manner the said institutions deal with electoral vices. For instance, a report made to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission about an alleged human right infringement does not guarantee instant relief to the complainant, and the same is true of a report made on electoral malpractices to the Zimbabwe Republic Police. The remedies simply take too much time, and perhaps as candidates, what you need is a remedy in real time. Like, your campaign posters have been torn up, they've been defaced, they've been pulled down. Do you have time during your campaign to go and open a docket at your local police station, report the people or the party you're suspecting of defacing your poster, and then get relief within a period of, say, 7 days? No, our electoral process takes a lot longer than that. And what I'm postulating and saying to you today is that, is this sufficient? You're going to be the future of this country if you're elected into parliament, isn't it? Or if you're elected into the local authority. We need laws that give real-time remedies. Panguva iyoyo yauri kutambudzika, iyoyo uchishungurudzwa ipapo, uri kuda kuti kushungurudzwa kupere kutambudzika kupere, asi mutemo uri kukudza kuti vhura dhoketi wozoenda kukoti, apa uri kukambena, uri kunzi uri kudiwa kukoti, unoprosecuta vanhu vawamangarira. Do we have time? Is it time to change the law? I say it is, and I challenge you, kana mapinda muparliament, gadzirisai mitemo, kwete kuzodzoka muchiti Zec yazodai, Zec yazodai. Kana mapiwa mukana wekushandura mutemo, shandurai mutemo kuti vanouyawo mumashure menyu vasasangane nezvamuri kusangana nazvo. This is my challenge to you all. The multi-party liaison platform then becomes an option where disputes can be resolved instantly by engagement in frank discussions over electoral issues and decisions, but these decisions have to be by consensus. In summary, the following are some of the electoral malpractices and dispute resolution mechanisms provided by the law in Zimbabwe. Kana tichiti electoral malpractice, tirikuti electoral act ine zvinhu zvainotaura kuti kana tamu election period chakata hachibvumidzwe, chakata hachitenderwe nemutemo, asi sekutaura kwandaita chisingabvumidzwe chacho chisingatenderwe unotofanira kunomhangara kumapurisa wovhurirwa docket, kwete kuvhurirwa docket recommon assault rekuti takarovana, unovhurirwa docket reviolation of the electoral act, docket inonzi electoral malpractice, pana akakanganisa zvisungo zviri muelectoral act. So the Electoral Act, Chapter 213, provides for a number of electoral malpractices. Some of the malpractices are considered criminal acts for which perpetrators can be prosecuted for. These malpractices are to be reported to the police or to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission for investigation. So, candidates and your agents, mukaenda pama-social media platform uchiti ndakanyorera kuZec ndichivaudza kuti ndo zvakaitika kwandiri svondo rakapera, Zec inotambira tsamba yenyu, but Zec ichangoendesa tsamba yenyu kumapurisa nekuti Zec haigone kuinvestigata. So in addition to writing a letter of complaint to Zec so that your complaint is documented, please, your first port of call should be your local police station, where you go and report the electoral malpractice, because they are the ones who have investigative powers. Ndivo vanokwanisa kuferefeta kuti zvauri kutaura ichokwadi here, zvechokwadi here wakakanganisirwa pamutemo, and then take the process all the way to the court. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission can, of course, receive complaints, but it does not have powers or capacity to investigate criminal offences, and so it refers any such report to the Human Rights Commission and the Zimbabwe Republic Police. Some of the electoral malpractices include, but are not limited to, politically motivated violence, intimidation, theft or destruction of voter identification, undue influence, bribery, personation, corruption, defacing of property, destruction of political posters. Any person found guilty of any of the above will be liable to a fine or imprisonment, or to both such fine or imprisonment. So, undue influence, what is it? In political parties, we hear of female candidates in particular being prevailed upon to withdraw their candidacy. Is this undue influence? Can you sue your own political party? If you do, will you survive in that political party? It's food for thought, and I'm not here to give legal advice. The law also provides for an electoral court to deal with electoral malpractices which are not necessarily criminal in nature. The electoral court has no criminal jurisdiction, but deals with issues that relate to undue return or undue election of candidates through reasons such as disqualification, want of qualification, electoral malpractice, or irregularities. I'll focus on want of qualification. Chinonzi want of qualification chi. Chinonzi munhu wese kana uchienda ku nomination court, you must ensure that you are registered to vote in the ward or constituency that you wish to represent. So what if you send in your papers, you're duly nominated, and then it turns out that you were not a registered voter in the constituency for reasons such as, for local authorities, voters' rolls anovarwa musi unoita kuti the vacancy ite arises. So the voters' roll for local authority arises on the day that the vacancy arises, which means musi wafa cancela kana musi wa disqualify wa cancel. So ma cancel anema different dates, and it's difficult sometimes in terms of administration to actually know the date on which the vacancy arises. So if you get elected, or if your nomination papers are accepted, and then it subsequently comes to light that you were not on the voters' roll for that council, it means you were not qualified to be elected. No inonzi want of qualification. This is done through the filing of a court petition. saka kana paine munhu ari kuti maichimuti vanga vasiri qualified kuita councillor, and you wish to object to the successful nomination of Maichimuti, you approach the electoral court and you file a petition to say she should be disqualified because she should never have been accepted in the first place. The only person qualified in terms of the law to file a petition on the undue return or election of a candidate is a person who was a candidate at that election. I'll now talk about multi-party liaison committees. In terms of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, the Electoral Act establishes multi-party liaison committees, commonly known as MPLCs, at national, constituency, and local authority levels. MPLCs hear and resolve or mediate disputes arising from the electoral process. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is responsible for the operating the MPLC structures at all levels, and Zec chairs the meetings. So the meetings can be held, this is a national one, at constituency level, at provincial level, at district level, but they must always be chaired by Zec. So anybody is welcome. If you're invited to an MPLC, if you have a grievance, you write in advance. You know that the PEOs and the DEOs, they will be chairing. You write and you say, at the next MPLC, please table the issue. Ye vanhu vari kutaura manyepo pachibhorani. Ana mai ningi nana baba ningi vari kunyebera vanhu pachibhorani kumudzi. Zvinonotaurwa ku-MPLC. Mowirirana kuti aiwa izvi hazvibvumirwe, izvi hazvitenderwi. By consensus. Kuti consensus kureva kuti munowirirana at local level, whether it's district or provincial or national. MPLCs comprise of Zec officials, representatives of political parties and independent candidates contesting in an election, and any other persons invited by the committee. So you invariably find that at district level, provincial level, even national level, other stakeholders such as CSOs, FBOs, Zimbabwe Republic Police, Chapter 12 commissions, any other person that the Zec officer who's chairing feels at local level can assist in reaching consensus, they will be invited. I would dare to say that even if you gate crash and you're not invited, but you're a stakeholder, you're a registered voter, you have something to say, I would like to think that you'd be given a voice and heard so that consensus is reached. The law also allows the national MPLC to create subcommittees at provincial level and delegate its functions to these structures. MPLCs are not litigating bodies, but an alternative dispute resolution mechanism that reaches decisions by consensus. This is the reason why you're here today, so that we can set up this important conflict resolution mechanism provided by the law. In terms of Section 160C of the Electoral Act, one of the major functions of the MPLCs is to assist in implementing the Code of Conduct for political parties and candidates. They have powers to refer issues to the Commission, submit recommendations to the Commission on electoral issues, and request for mediation by the Commission in any dispute. So, for instance, you've been seeing or reading a whole lot of issues about fraud and the voters' roll. You want to know what's happening? You want explanations? Use your MPLCs. We have invited the persons who are allegedly responsible for the voters' rolls queries to come and sit down with us and talk with us face to face. But they prefer to remain nameless and faceless. They prefer to denigrate the Commission on social media and to continue to send questions to the Commission via social media. And we say as a Commission, we know what our mandate is in terms of the Constitution. We know how we account to stakeholders through Parliament, through reports to Parliament, through the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. I've yet to see a section of the Electoral Act that says we must engage in one-on-one on Twitter. If it's something that you wish to see as prospective or potential legislators, you want the Electoral Commission to respond to ghosts on Twitter who say the Electoral Commission is not credible, the Electoral Commission has done this and that. If that's what you want, give us enabling legislation to say, with effect from such and such a date, Zec must account to us through Twitter or Facebook or through WhatsApp. As of now, I want to tell you before I leave this podium, the current law says we account through Parliament, and we will do so in due course. The Code of Conduct for Political Parties and other stakeholders is another conflict resolution mechanism found in our law. I do not wish to preempt the presentation that is going to be done on the Code of Conduct, but I just wish to state that the code, which is part of our law, recognizes the role of women in electoral activities and binds political parties to respect the rights of women in communicating freely within the parties and as candidates. It also binds political parties to facilitate the full and equal participation by women in political activities. So I'm saying to fellow women, how many female candidates, prospective candidates, are in the room right now? Please stand up. Prospective female candidates in the room. Do we have any? Not for National Assembly? Not even one that we can clap hands for. I'm saying something to the room here. Say pasina madzimai. This to no zvaravana. Varume vacho vese vakazvarwa nesu. What is so special about them that we can't even have a single female candidate at National Assembly? I know there are female candidates at local authority, isn't it, Mr. Manyao? But we're saying right now there's no perspective, or let's just say they're not in this room. So if they're not in this room, wherever they are, please can we just clap for them? It's hard for them, okay? As political players, you also need to hold an indaba on how to give effect to provisions that were introduced by Constitutional Amendment number 2 of 2021, which provides for the 30% local government women quota. While the 30% is a far cry from the 50% global mark provided by the international and regional gender instruments, it is a worthwhile baseline to start deliberations on such issues so that we are seen to abide by the laws that we make for ourselves. The same goes for inclusion of youths and people with disabilities in our electoral processes so that we keep abreast of global trends. Those discussions can best be tackled at fora such as those where decisions are reached by consensus, ergo the MPLCs. The suspension of the conduct of by-elections owing to the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in the accruement of 28 National Assembly and 121 local authority by-elections slated for 26 March 2022. Each of the country's 10 provinces has some impending by-elections. Hence, these by-elections are unique in that they have gained a national outlook, just by the sheer volume of numbers. It is against this background that the Commission has decided to hold this multi-party liaison committee meeting for all political parties and independent candidates contesting in the by-elections at National Assembly level. Participants in the upcoming by-elections went through the nomination process, which was closed on 26 January 2022. Let me take this opportunity to explain the proclamation process and the Commission's role in announcing the existence of electoral vacancies. Section 39, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act states that after the President has been notified of a vacancy in the National Assembly, he or she shall issue a proclamation ordering the conduct of that election. In the case of local authority by-elections, section 121, subsection 2 states that upon being notified of a vacancy, the Commission shall publish a notice fixing the nomination court day and polling date as outlined in section 121A of the Electoral Act, the President proclaims National Assembly by-elections while it is the prerogative of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to fix dates for local authority by-elections and publish them in the press. The voters' roll for the National Assembly by-elections closed on the 8th of January 2022 in accordance with Section 26A of the Electoral Act to allow compilation and production, while those for local authority by-elections closed on the day the councillor stopped occupying office. I'll now talk about voters' roll inspection and use of the USSD code. The Commission is looking into resuscitating the use of the USSD code platform to enable the electorate to inspect their voter registration status using their mobile phones. We expect this to be operational by latest Friday next week. The USSD platform is very convenient because both smart and basic mobile phones users can use it without one incurring data costs. This application is ideal for both urban and rural dwellers who have mobile phones. When operational, all subscribers of the country's 3 major mobile network service providers will have access to the USSD platform. In addition to the platform, the electorate can check their voter registration status online on provided websites. In conclusion, I would like to urge, firstly, all contesting political parties and candidates to campaign peacefully, to refrain from hate speech, and to use the multi-party liaison committees which have been decentralized to constituency and local authority levels to resolve electoral disputes. I would also like to urge all political parties to resist the urge to go for low-hanging fruit, which is the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, to blame it in advance because you are anticipating defeat. So therefore you say, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is not independent. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is fraudulent. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is this and that and that. Please, can we hear more of what your party stands for? What are you hoping to bring to the electorate? How are you hoping to change your ward, your prospective ward, your prospective constituency? Can we hear more about your strategy? Once you are elected as councillor, what strategy do you have in place for collecting refuse? What strategy do you have in place to combat environmental degradation? What strategy do you have in place to combat domestic violence? Can we hear more from those who are aspiring to be in Parliament? What strategy do you have in place for introducing laws that are going to change the country? Are you just seeking to be elected into Parliament so that you can just sit there and not do anything to change your constituency? We need to hear more about your manifestos, your strategies, how you're going to change the constituency that you're aspiring to represent, how you're going to change that ward. Yes, we know that traditionally the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has been accused of all sorts of things without even any evidence or proof. Let's just set that aside for a moment. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you represent. Tell us what you stand for. Tell us how you're going to change your country. You want us to put confidence in you, to elect you to represent your constituency or ward. Why should we do that? Uda kuti tikusarudze. Uda kuti tikusarudzirei. Nekuti uri mutsvuku here? Uri murefu here? Wakapfupika here? Une mari here? Kana une mari uchatipawo mari yacho here? Wotiudza. What are you going to do? Why should the people elect you? This is an election period. We should be focusing on what you're going to do for your constituents. Once you are in Parliament, once you are in council, everybody out there, we should be asking these prospective candidates to tell us what they stand for. Zvokungotaura nezvekuti Zec ichaenda kuparliament yonoudza parliament kuti yakaitei nezvevoters roll ichokwadi here kana kuti hachisi chokwadi kuti yakabira vanhu yaiitei zvimwe zvacho kusanzwisisa zvinenge zvichiitwa zvekucleana voters roll tinozviziva tinozvinzwisisa imboisai zveZec parutivi tiudzei kuti tokusarudzirei kuti mutungamire nyika ino. Makamira papi panhau dzeminda, makamira papi panhau dzemachild marriages, makamira papi panyaya yedomestic violence, makamira papi panyaya yeeconomy. Muchadzosa US dollar here, muchanotora mari yekurussia here, muchasimbisa ZIM dollar here. Ndo zvatinoda kunzwa nguva yeelection period pane kungonzwa zvokuti Zec yazodai, Zec yazodai, Zec yazodai. Zec ichaenda kuparliament yonoudza parliament kuti sei yakadai kana kuti sei isina kudai. Ndo kunobvunzwa Zec ikoko kwete pasocial media. Now, before I get off the podium, let me just say, I declare this National Multi-Party Liaison Committee officially open. And thank you for allowing me to vent. Now, Mr. Manyao, I know this wasn't on your program, but what I'm going to do is, can I first just allow 2 CSOs, 4 prospective candidates, 2 boys, 2 girls, in terms of the zebra pattern, to just stand up. If they have a question, they can ask me. This is the only time that they're going to access me before I leave the podium. CSOs, ZRP, other stakeholders. 1 question each, but the candidates, I'll allow 2 boys and 2 girls who have a burning question to put to the chairperson of Zec, because I'm going to leave you to the CEO and his team to explain to you what it means to be a prospective candidate. Mr. Manyao.
Thank you very much, Chair. There you are. CSOs? CSOs? No question.
Somebody with a burning question, put it to me.
That's me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a question. Mine is not very but it's a very nevertheless. So we are very grateful that we've been invited to come in. Polling officials are being trained whether to conduct the DVR process or even the polling process for the general elections and the by-elections. That will be also something that we can look forward to and greatly benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zesni. The first question I want to put to you, sir, please don't sit down. You didn't identify yourself. We don't like nameless and faceless stakeholders.
Thank you very much. I certainly know the shadow figure. We made introductions before we came into the room, so I just assumed.
No, before you ask me a question, I need to know who I'm talking to.
You are talking to Ian Goredema from the Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goredema. And I would like to say, the CEO and his team, they're in the room, they can hear you. But I'd also like to appreciate Zesni and take this opportunity to talk about something which had actually slipped my mind. Zesni, you know what parallel voter tabulation is, right? PVT. It was done in Zambia. It was done in Malawi. Yes? Is it a possibility for CSOs to get together and firstly share the burden of fielding candidates in electoral processes, whether it's in polling stations or for delimitation? Is it a possibility that if political parties can talk about uniting to bring about the Zimbabwe that they want, could CSOs also unite and set up a parallel voter tabulation center, a PVT, not only for the by-elections but for 2023? Do you know how that enhances the Zec process? Because Mesakana minima V11, the V11 is the primary, the certificate of primary evidence, isn't it? Kanamina mukaverenga mukaverengirana. It's very easy for you to tell whether or not Zec has stolen something or it hasn't, isn't it? And Zesni, you did that in 2018. Confirm?
Yes, you did.
Can you confirm to this room that you actually called Zec and you said your figures are not tallying with ours, and Zec looked and found a mathematical error and corrected it? Can you confirm that?
Yes, you did.
Can you confirm that you had all of your V11s? I'm not asking you to confirm our declaration. I'm just saying confirm.
We don't call them V11, we call them statistical projections, so yes, we get that.
Whatever you call them at Zec, they are V11s. So thank you very much. So in 2018, any CSO could have called Zec and said, listen, we are of the view that there's a problem with your tabulation because our tabulation is giving us this. So listen, Zesni, because you did that in 2018, can we ask you to perhaps set up a panel of 10 CSOs and come up with your own parallel voter tabulation so that in 2023 you can tell us, Zec, we have all the V11s, your figures are mathematically correct or mathematically incorrect. I want to say this on record, and I'm challenging CSOs, instead of repeating the narrative that there were errors in calculation, do parallel voter tabulation and then come out and have a press conference after we announce our declaration and say the candidate that has been declared is not the correct candidate in our view, or the candidate is correct because our figures tally. Thank you, Zesni. Next.
Next, the next CSO, are we finished with CSOs?
Let's just have anybody else with a question that they'd like to put to me.
Thank you for inviting us to this platform. So looking against the code of conduct, would it be possible for Zec, seeing that you now do have a very comprehensive research department, to provide updates and reports that come from the multi-liaison committee related to the specific violations or complaints that are normally or that are coming through these committees, especially the gendered violations, so that we are also able to keep a track of them and look at how they are being redressed or addressed through the various platforms that you pointed out. Because a lot of the complaints from women are especially the fact that there are no remedies. So it becomes just a space for political parties to talk, but there are no real remedies. So that's our major concern, to say how do we ensure that these cases are followed up and that at least some remedies come out of the spaces where they do report. Thank you.
Is this code of conduct? Haina mazino kanti unozviziva. Haina mazino. There are no real-time remedies. You look at South Africa, you look at Zambia, you look at Malawi now. Even the EMBs there, they can disqualify candidates. They can fine candidates millions of kwacha, millions of rand. They can take away proportional representation votes, isn't it? And those EMBs have been given a quasi-judicial tribunal process in terms of the Electoral Act. We've been advocating for this in terms of the changes to the Electoral Act, but unfortunately, our law is what it is. So, ngatidai tinoshanda nezvatinazvo handiti. Code of conduct, you know, every act of electoral malpractice is a criminal act. So you've got to go to the local police station, wonomangara kuti posta yangu yakatsemurwa, ndakarohamba mababaningi vakanditi ndiri chakati anditi. And what you're saying to me is that it's not working for female candidates because it takes almost 12 months, even though we are told that kunema fast-track courts during the electoral period, it still takes a really long time. So what you're saying to me is you would like real-time remedies, batsirama female candidates, so that they feel safe, so that they can have remedies. I would also just urge you as a CSO to say, prospective candidates, they use high-sounding language when they're trying to kutinyengetedza kuti tivasarudze handiti. But once they are elected, they go into parliament and they sleep for 5 years. What we really need, Fatai, is a change in the law to get real-time remedies, which are not criminal remedies, maybe quasi-judicial remedies. Like the EMB can sit as a tribunal and say, Fatai, white hate speech. Therefore, the CSO that you're representing, we're sanctioning you in this and that manner, or we're deregulating you, right? That's what we need. So, practically looking at what we have now, there are two issues that I want to encourage prospective candidates. Unomangara kumapurisa wo vurisa doketi, usavurisa doketi re common assault, vurisa doketi re electoral malpractice, because the remedies are different. Saka ukaenda kumapurisa ukati ndarowa, anditi mapurisa vanovhura doketi re common assault, but ukarowa uri prospective candidate iri election period, the charge should not be common assault. The charge should be contravening the Electoral Act by physically assaulting a prospective candidate, and then the remedy is different. Saka common assault, fine, but you'll find that in terms of the Electoral Act, if you open a docket for electoral malpractice, the remedy is a little bit stiffer. Prospective candidates should know that you can approach the electoral court, unaita petition, the electoral court. Every high court division sits as an electoral court during the electoral period. Unaita petition, yekutaura kuti ini ndarowa nababa chimuti namai chimuti nokuti ndanga ndichiva kukwidza kuita kansera. Saka ndoda kuti baba chimuti ndivo vandiri kunomira navo, vanzi ne-Electoral Act, he is disqualified from being a councillor, he is disqualified from being an MP because vakanganisa mutemo wema-election. Andi muri kunzwa. The Zimbabwe Electoral Act cannot do that for you. It cannot petition the electoral court for you. It cannot report your matter for you. Kana dai mukatinyorera matsamba 100 muchiti mimi ndakarowa. It's not aendesawo ku Human Rights Commission nekumapurisa because we don't have investigative powers. So now to answer your question directly, Fadzai, to say what can be done for female candidates? I think female candidates and what can be done in terms of statistics, kuma MPLCs. I'm going to be very honest with you, Fadzai. This is an MPLC. It's a national committee. Nguva yatinenge tichita zvema-election, Fadzai, everybody's running with administrative issues. Zec is a purely administrative body. It's not a political body. Saka, in real time, whatever's happening to your female candidates, whatever they're reporting to the MPLCs, kuma MPLCs, whether at district, provincial level, kunotorwa ma minutes. I am not in a position during an election period to say, ndipe ima statistics ekuti vakadzi vakatukwa vangani. Ndipe vana slike vanovanenge vachunudza kuti che tiri kutomhanya nekutsvaga ingi nekuprinta ballot paper. Zvema statistics. What happens in terms of our Electoral Act is that we then do reports. So I'm sure the CEO is listening, and you are asking me, could patinator report which we table before Parliament after by-elections, you'd like statistics which emanate from the MPLCs at provincial and district levels to say how many women complained about malpractices, what was the nature of the complaints, and what action was taken for the complaints. Mr. Slaikwana, I am sure my MPLC edu ndiye kuita consensus. You're being asked for statistics. For as long as, Fadzai, your CSO understands that these statistics, if you demand them from Zec during an election period when they are busy buying pens and ensuring that you won't get them then. You can get them in a post-election report. I'm sure there's no problem. Yes? Thank you. Anybody else? Let's give them a chance to interact with the chair.
We might not agree, but at least it was clear on certain issues.
And I'll defend your right to disagree with me.
I so defend it and most appreciative of that protection. Chair, we have issues, and delighted to note that you said you have brought a number of people to deal with queries around the voters' roll. We have issues with the voters' roll, or with the number of heads.
Could I just, with respect, interrupt you there and say, are you aware that our administrative process at Zec is that if or when you have queries, no matter how big or how small, your remedy is to write to the office of the CEO, put your queries in writing. You will be guaranteed that the CEO, who is operational, will respond to you within a period of 7 days and either advise you, I am investigating your queries and I will come back to you in writing and address your queries. Have you written to the office of the CEO and addressed your queries there? There's really no point in you articulating your queries to me in this forum if you haven't put your queries in writing to the CEO. Even if I allow you 50 minutes to articulate queries 1 to 20, queries 1 to 25 in this forum, you will not get relief unless you write to the CEO and put your queries to him and he responds. Have you written to the CEO?
Yeah, your response is a relief in aspect.
Have you written?
Yes, we've written to the CEO.
When did you write to the CEO? And has the CEO responded? Because the CEO is right here.
Yes.
Have you written to the CEO?
Yes, we've written
When?
to the CEO.
When?
Not on these particular cases I'm speaking about, but on...
Well, if you haven't written to the CEO, I don't want to hear about it in this forum. You can talk about other issues. Follow the Zec laid down procedures, because if you don't follow laid down procedures and you abuse this forum to give mileage to whatever it is that you want to say, that is unacceptable. So if you've not written to the CEO about the particular issue you want to raise, I don't want to hear about it. We have seen a lot of queries about the voters' roll on social media, and my blanket response is we will respond to those issues to Parliament, which is the forum that we account to, not in this forum. So could we skip the voters' roll issues? They've already been brought to our attention via social media. We're still waiting for formal notification or formal request to respond. We will respond in due course. Other issues, not voters' roll issues, I'm not giving mileage to that here.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk to the other issues that I do have. That one will promptly send a letter.
Yes, write to us. Come and sit down with us, face to face. Inga is not really face to face one.
Yes,
Musa wande pa social media, mchitukirira pa social media. We are in Taurenesu. This commission, it's your commission. Come and talk to us. Yes, other issues. Other issues, yes. Thank you.
Yes, the other issue is we have to relate to media issues.
Media issues will be addressed by Commissioner Kazembe in the afternoon. If you look at the program, there's a full program. I don't want to preempt her program. You will find that when she does address you, she will give you today a timetable. Yakaitwa ni ZBC, ye airtime ya monopiwa. What I want to say in this forum is that in the past, what we found in 2018, and I hope it doesn't happen this time around, is that ZBC, it sets a program of 4 political parties, 4 candidates, to say on such and such a date between these hours, party A, party B, party C, party D, you're going to be given coverage. ZBC also has set up a timetable of radio programs for all the parties that were nominated, successfully nominated. So radio programs, coverage. But what happens is that a lot of political parties don't take up the allocated slots. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure whether it's because ZBC charges or it doesn't charge. But listen, Commissioner Kazembe is the Zec commissioner who is the guru on coverage. Today you will get a timetable where each candidate in this room, each political party will know which slots have been allocated to you on the national broadcaster and on the national radio. So that one, please be patient. Commissioner Kazembe will address you. I've seen the timetable myself. I've looked at it. I think the allocated slots are actually fair to all the parties concerned, all the way up to the 25th of March, which is the day before the by-elections. So you'll be addressed on that.
Yes, but the big challenge we have is that we are organizing launches. Yes, we do appreciate their program and the allocated slot. But as you know, it's a campaign period. One party organizes the launch, we organize the launch, ZBC comes, they break out the whole program.
All right, can I stop you right there? It all goes back again to the Electoral Act. You're a lawyer. Read the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act says, if you are unhappy or if you feel that coverage is unequal, you approach the Electoral Court for an appropriate order instructing the national broadcaster to give you coverage for your rally. Attacking Zec isn't going to get you that. Our Electoral Act is proactive. Look at the Electoral Act. It's an act of electoral malpractice for unequal coverage. But even unequal coverage, that act places the onus on you to approach the Electoral Court and say, unequal coverage. Can I have equal coverage? And the court will make an appropriate order on ZBC. Zec cannot do that. Zec facilitates kugadzirwa kwe maslot nema program. If ZBC doesn't follow that, if you are in a campaign period and you feel that you'd like coverage by the national broadcaster and you haven't gotten it, your remedy is to approach the Electoral Court. In that whole advocate legal advice. But you as a lawyer, you know it's an electoral malpractice. So use the law. What are you expecting Zec to do about it?
No, this is part of the law, setting up this platform so that we air.
Okay, so we are airing, and I'm telling you that your remedy is to approach the Electoral Court, get an appropriate order, ordering ZBC to cover your rally wherever it is. That's your remedy.
My last point, the last question, is on the police and that they've been invited. We are having a differential treatment in relation to the meetings that we organize, the campaign, the rallies.
All right, thank you very much. Do I need to remind you again what your remedy is? I've already said it. I'm not your lawyer. Yes. This is an MPLC. You're not happy with police conduct.
Yes.
But did you not sue the police last week?
Yes, we did sue the police.
Therefore, you know where your remedy lies. What is the problem?
The role of this platform is for us to discuss those issues.
Yes, but you already know, Kuti, when you are unhappy with any electoral malpractice or alleged malpractice, you already know as lawyers, you already sued the Zimbabwe Republic Police for what you perceived to be unfair conditions imposed upon you. The Electoral Court, I'm sure, must have pronounced on the issue. I'm yet to see the court order, but let's not use this platform for grandstanding, please. We're not here to grandstand. You know where your remedy lies. So this is an MPLC where others who are coming from the provinces and the districts, they are not lawyers, they don't have your expertise, they don't have your quality of or ability to speak. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I'm Alexander Mawara, representing Zec. Inipa Patricia Nduipo, Nukuti Apapetinia Amai. Buzomo Kwanza Nduikut. Towards the nomination court, network yetu ya Katsawaya na Katsindi. Lakakundira kuti makandidate azoonekwa leta kuti akodzere kuti apinde pakuzokondesa. Zvikataza kuti pafunikana kukwanise kufiuda makandidate in that particular year. Ndakumbira kuti system yedu iupgrade in time so that whenever takumhanya nezvinhu izvi
musati mapfuura henyu ipapo ngatiitei mubvunzo nemubvunzo kuitira kuti nyaya dzese tinyatsodzigura naye. Handina kunyatsobata zita renyu, mati munonzani? Muri kumiririra constituency ipi? Alright. Makarejista kuvhota constituency ipi kana ward ipi?
In relation to that, we got the candidate from Mapuku.
Ndiri kubvunza imimi panyama yenyu makarejista kuvhota kupi?
In Southern constituency.
Southerton constituency. Aiwa ndazvinzwa ndatenda yenyu. Nhau yenyu yamataura pakutanga apa. Ndoda kutaura hangu pamberi penyika yeZimbabwe tine urombo nezvakaitika kwamuri, handiti? Kana vakakutsvagai handi vakakutaura kuti tine urombo. Tine urombo zvakaitika. Connectivity yedu, nyika yedu, handiti tinoziva kuti kune dzimwe nzvimbo dzekuti dzimwe nguva magetsi anenge ariko, magetsi anenge asiko. Zvimwe zvinowanika zvirimo muvoters roll, zvimwe hazviwaniki. Asi isusu takati kana taita zvatinenge taita sezeki tichita administration yedu, panenge pakanganisika panoresheka, tinokukumbirai ruregerero, handiti? Makakumbirwa ruregerero, kana musina ndikumbirei inini? Ndinokumbirawo ruregerero. Takakanganisa. Asi ndapedza kukumbira ruregerero, ndoda kukubvunzai. Zvakambopindawo here munzeve dzenyu pamwe voter education yedu ndiyo iri kusarira mumashure? Kuti isusu takati kana tichienda kunomination court, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission handiyo inokupai nhau yekuti muri pavoters roll here kana kuti hamusi musi wenomination court. Takataura tichiti munhu wese ada kumiririra ward kana constituency, zviri kwauri iwewe kuti zuva renomination court risati rasvika, enda kumaofisi ezeki unotsvaga vanhu vako kuti varimo here muvoters roll kana kuti havamo. Zuva iroro risati rasvika, enda unotenga, ubhadhare mari yako, woprintirwa voters roll nezeki kuti ukwanise kuona kuti iwe nevanhu vako nemusangano wako varida kumirira maward akasiyana. Takabvira tataura kuti maward ane madata akasiyana, mavoters roll emaward ane madata akasiyana. Zvakambopindawo here munzeve dzenyu? Tikati maward voters roll rinovharwa musi wafa kansela kana musi wabuda kansela muofisi. Saka musati ward iyi neward iyi zvakafanana, maward acho ese iwayo hari 100 and something, mavoters roll acho akavharwa mazuva akasiyana. Takazvitaura izvo kana mumaredhiyo zvikadaidzirwa, handiti? Saka baba vangu ndakukumbirai ruregerero kuti ndikuratidzei kuti ndinogona kukumbira ruregerero, nekuti imi mati kompyuta yezeki haina kukwanisa kubata kuti vanhu venyu makandidate yenyu amakaisa vakanga vasiri muvoters roll. Asi isu takanga tadaidzira, endai munozvitengera mavoters roll, endai munotsvaga vanhu venyu vanokunominatai, vanhu venyu vachamiririra mabato enyu, endai munotsvaga kuti muvoters roll yeward yega yega vanenge varimo here, nekuti zvine madata akasiyana. Takadaidzira baba vangu, ndakumbira hangu ruregerero, handiti? Asi ndakukumbirai kuti ndikuratidzei kuti ndinogona kupfaa kana ndichida kupfaa, handiti? Ndinogona kupfaa. Ndiri mukuru webato rinoona nezvesarudzo. Mati administration yedu munomination court yakakanganisika nekuti vanhu venyu vakatambirirwa mapepa, asi ndokuzoonekwa kuti vanga vasiri mumavoters roll. Asi takanga takupai kayambiro, nai baba vangu, nai mukoma wangu, nai hanzvadzi yangu, takuyambirai, endai munofanira kutarisa. Tikato inini chaiye inini ndakataura ndichiti munogona musamirire nomination court, unokwanisa kuenda kudistrict office, kuprovincial office, wonotarisirwa kuti vanhu vako vari muroll here zuva racho risati rasvika. Ndibvunze henyu mubvunzo wechipiri.
Mubvunzo wangu wechipiri kuti nhaya amai hatikwanisewo here kuita diaspora registration and voting muno muZimbabwe?
Regai ndibva ndangopindura ndichidaro. Handiti pamakaunza bumbiro remutemo ra2013 makati munoda polling station specific voting, handiti? Muchiti zvoni imimi kare vanhu vaichiti muconstituency unogona kuvhota chero pese pese, handiti? ndobva zvanzi hazvichadiwa nekuti zvainzi vamwe vaivhota kaviri vachivhota katatu, handiti? Ndobva mati imimi nyika yeZimbabwe, handiti? Maakuda kuti paitwe polling station specific voting kuti munhu avhote papolling station imwe chete chete, handiti? Munoziva ndo zviri mbumbiro remutemo. Saka kuti tiite polling station specific voting zvinoda adresi yemuno muZimbabwe, handiti? Muri kuzvinzwa? Imimi mukarejista kuvhota kuSouthampton kwamataura uko, kana muri kwaMutare musi unovhotwa munogona here kuvhota kwaMutare? Hazvigoni. Izvozvo ndo zvinoita kuti munhu ari kudiaspora atadziwe kuvhota. Imi kana musingagoni kuvhota muri kwaMutare muine one polling station yenyu kuSouthampton, ari kudiaspora haagone kuvhota nekuti haana adresi yemuZimbabwe. Mazvinzwisisa? Mutemo kana muchida kuushandura zvamati imimi mune bato renyu rine vanhu vada kuenda kuparliament, ngavasvike ikoko vasvikomhanya mhanya vasvikochibirika vajate jate ushandura mutemo. Isu kana vashandura mutemo tinomhanya nawo mutemo iwoyo washandurwa, chimuti chamunenge matipa hatimbochidonhedza pasi.
So ndichiri ipapo amai zvinoreva kuti nyaya yedu inotangira parliament yozoya kwamunhu kana kuti
aiwa inototangira muparliament. Isa hatingomhanyika isu konhai hanzvadzi yangu pangangoita musikana mutsvuku-tsvuku anouya agotanga kusvikobika sadza mumusha menyu asina kuratidzwa kuti chindochoto here nevaridzi vemusha. Zvinototangira pamutemo. Kuti tibike zvesarudzo munenge matoti pamutemo motiudza kuti muroora usatenderere kuseri kwehozi ndo mutemo tomhanya nawo. Mazvinzwisisa?
thank you Chief Justice.
I receive. Maybe for 2030, but I receive. Ingota ako judge. And see Chief Justice. Aiwa, ndiri chairman weze. Kana kuti judge ukati Chief Justice unondisungisa nemapurisa ari kusiriko.
Okay, thank you, Madam. I'm Maurice Damaso from the Federation of African States, a Pan-African political party. My issue is on voter education. We are connecting voter education, but your voter education is not that sound because many people still don't know why they should register to vote and also why they should vote. So my question is that is there any possibility that maybe the student unions, the church, or any organization will partner with the Zec officially to conduct the voter education, officially not what is happening that the political parties will say, let us register to vote for this one. The official partnership or the drafting memorandum of understanding with the student boards and also with the churches or such. I don't know if
okay. Can you just enlighten me again? I didn't quite catch your name. Right. Are you registered to vote?
I'm registered to vote.
In which ward or constituency?
It's a constituency. It's Children in Kwale.
Where's your polling station?
It's a province.
Thank you very much. Now, is your organization in the Zec database for recognized voter educators? Are you registered with Zec?
Yes, we sent a notification of existence to Zec.
You sent a notification of existence. Did you expressly apply to be added to the database of official voter educators? Did you do that? It's just a letter saying, hi Zec, I apply to be added to your database. Did you do that?
Yeah, on that regard of voter registration, I didn't know that.
Right. What you need to do is you need to just write a simple letter saying, I have sent you my manifesto and my constitution, this is my organization, can I be added to your register or your database? And what Zec does is they'll call you in, they'll talk to you. Yes? I'm trying to explain our voter education process. They call you in, they talk to you, they add your name to the database. And when they develop voter education materials, they will call you and they'll say, what is your constituency? Is it Ndebele? Is it Nambia? Is it, what is it? What are the issues in your constituency? Then when we develop voter education material, we develop it in conjunction with you, then we give you some of it and we send you out to address people in your constituency. So to answer your question directly, we already do work with churches. We call them faith-based organizations. We already do work with NGOs. We call them CSOs. Those who have applied to be in our database are in our database. We develop our material together with them and we work with them. It's not even a problem for Zec. All you need to do is apply. There are no stringent conditions. You don't have to run 10 kilometers like for the police there. We just look at your organization and we work with you. And for us to give you our voter education material, we train you first, which means we have a couple of workshops with you where we try and show you what's the difference between campaigning and voter education. Are you answered?
I'm answered on that one. And the last question is that there is a headline that I once saw on social media, and that headline was by Chief Officer Election, if I'm not mistaken. It's saying, I don't know whether it's he or she, saying that Zec has the obligation to work with all the stakeholders in the nation, whether it could be police, intelligence, and all the organizations in the country. And also my question now is that you, as a Zec, do you disclose the information of our candidates who are contesting in elections to the intelligence department or police?
All right. Let me answer your question. The Electoral Act says kanata pinda mu election period. Election period inotanga kana president va proclaim election until 30 days after the results are announced. Ndo inonzi election period mu electoral cycle. Yes? Kanata pinda mu election period. The Electoral Act says we can employ anyone on secondment from any department, as long as when they are conducting or doing electoral duties, they do so under our direction and control. So what happens is, Canada ikatora ma teacher, for instance, yes? Canada ikatora ma nurse, Canada ikatora vanhu vatinotora ivo veku security. We train them on electoral processes, and they only conduct themselves in the polling station or in their duties. Be it ZRP, you can ask the officer there, tine training manual yedu ye ZRP, atino trainer mapurisa vanenge vakamira mu polling station. Andinozoti mu polling station yega yega pa entrance pane paine mapurisa. Andinoziya. Okay, so your objection is you don't want to see people from the CIO, but urikuti bvumidza kuti tiise mapurisa pa door polling station so that we safeguard you uchivota. But how do we choose which security sector to work with? Because ZRP in a mandate, yeah, and different departments have different mandates. So the reason why we second people from the PSC is because vanenge vakapasa ma vetting procedures kudara vaine the basic minimum education. I read somewhere on social media saying muri kutorerei vanhu from those departments kune vana hobo vasina mabasa. It's difficult for us during an election period kuti titange kukuvetai kuti are you qualified to do this and that, ma certificate ako ari kupi. Tinotora vanhu vanenge vakavetwa kudhara ne Public Service Commission. It's allowed in terms of the constitution. Tinovatora on what is called secondment, which means vanouya kuZec during the election period. Election kana yapera vodzokera kumabasa kwavo. Kana vauya kuZec havasikuita zvavanoda, tinosikovaudza kuti iwewe unogara apa woita zvakadai, iwe unomira wakatarisa uku woita zvakadai, ndo inonzi under our direction. Is that understood?
I think you did answer.
Which one didn't I answer?
that do disclose our information.
Vanhu vatino appointer mu polling station like ma presiding officers and others tinogazeta mazitawo. Like for instance, I'm sure maskati muchanzwa muchitsanangurirwa process yekutora kwatinoita vanhu, kuvatraina kwatinoita, kutraina kwatinoita ma polling agents, when we train them and how we gazette names. Ava vamwe vese vatinotora from different departments, we do publish their names kuripoti yatinoita kuparliament. Nambotanga ndichiti isusu ezec we account to stakeholders through parliament. Handi ndo zvandatanga ndichitaura. Saka kune report, like if you were to go to parliament right now and ask them for the 2018 post-election report yezec, it was tabled before parliament. Ku parliament koko ndo kwatinoisa mazita evanhu. Kana uchida kuaona.
I understand that one, but my question is that after the nomination court, because we have a scenario whereby our candidate has been called by the intelligence to report to the police.
Right, now izvozvo mira ndibva ndakubata ipapo. Handatanga kutsanangura pandambenge ndichitaura nemumwe wako your fellow stakeholder. The minute panongoitika izvozvo chete yekuti wadaidzwa watyisidzirwa, ndo yatati electoral malpractice iya yatati unotoenda kumapurisa you insist ndoda kuvhurisa docket re-electoral malpractice, candidate yangu Ningi akadaidzwa nguva dzakati nevanhu vakadai akatyisidzirwa. It's an electoral malpractice. You must report it to the police. Moprosecutor kusvikira vanhu ivavo vabatwa vasungwa. Handiti dzidzai nhau haisi yekuuya kuzoudza zeki kuti takatyisidzirwa. Endai kumapurisa muchivhurisa madhoketi. Toda kunzwa kuti kumapurisa kwazara madhoketi electoral malpractice emacandidate vari kuti takaitwa zvakati zvakati. Ndo zvamunofanira kuita izvozvo. Okay. Carry on. Kana ndaneta ndichataura.
Awa, tinotenda. Zita ndinoitwa Shingrai Mikhael Chabata. Mubvunzo wangu uri pakuti organization. United Zimbabwe Alliance. Ndoda kubvunza kuti seri pano ndakarejista kuvhota 2018. Ndikavhota kuZaka North pamageza police station. Ndoda kubvunza izvezvi pamaelection ari kutevera. Ndichida kundovhota izvezvi ndosvika zita rangu haripo, asi ndakambovhota 2018 papolice station iyoyo. Zvinofambiswa sei?
Mazvita henyu vekuzaka nhau iri panapa ndeye kudai. Handi muri kuona ini ndakamira panapa. Handina computer ka, handina laptop handiti. Handikwanise kuti ndikutarisirei mudatabase redu rekuzaka remuward yenyu yamakambovhotera kuti ndizive kuti zvakafamba sei. Ndo chinhu chekutanga. Handiti voters roll redu riri electronic handiti ka, pakuti rinogona kuonekwa pakombiyuta handiti. Asi handi mambonzwa zvandataurira mumwe wenyu. Mutemo wedu unoti imi kana muchida kuona kuti muripo here pavoters roll ndimi munofanira kufamba netsoka dzenyu kana kuinda nechikochikari kudistrict office muchinotsvaga zita renyu muvoters roll. Mukandibvunza ndakamira panapa, chero mbuya vangu chaivo handikwanise kuvataurira kuti kwavakambovhota 2018 vachiri kukwanisa kukuvhotera here kana kuti zvakafamba sei. Nokuti voters roll rinogara richishanduka. Handiti mazinzwa zvandikutaura. Mutemo unoti imimi ndimi munofanira kusumuka moenda kudistrict office yenyu monotsvaga zita renyu. Kana mari shaya ndopaya pandataura kunonyorwa tsamba kuna CEO. Handi muri kuzvinzwa. Ndakambovhota pachikoro chinonzi chakadeno kuzaka rinopisa. Nhasi ndauya pano ndanzwa kunzi zita rangu harisisi muvoters roll. Nditsanangurire. Mukavanyorera within 7 days vanoinvestigate votarisa mukombiyuta vokuudzai. Kana pachinge pakakanganisika muri kunyatsondiroda kuti munyatsondinzwisisa. Nekuti hakuna administration iri 100%. Handiti international best practice inoti administration inobvumiswa kurasika ne 10%. Kana ndege ichigona kudonha zvichinzi paitika pilot error, administration pane painokanganisika. CEO vezec ndiri kukudzai vasilaigwana. Kana pakakanganisika vanokukumbirai ruregerero. Pana hanzvadzi vangu vandakumbira ruregerero apa kuti tokumbirawo ruregerero. Kana takanganisa, kana pakakanganisika, kana zita renyu rakaendeswa kuruboshwe richifanira kuenda kurudyi, tinotaura kuti aiwa takakanganisa, tagadzirisa.
Ndoda kuita follow up panyaya yamandudzai.
Follow up.
Nokuti ndakavhota ndizvo. Nezeko wacho kuti ndifambe vanga vasiko musha kwangu kwandiri. Ndofana zvamuti mutemo mudero ndizvona. Then maelection autovhota izvi. Time yacho andoti ndizocheka, ndizonyora tsamba. Ini MP wangu ndakavhotera vakare akabviswa kana kuti vakabva. Kuti ndizoramba nakuvhota. Nenguva yetsamba ndinotara posi yamutara indakambovhotera MP wangu. Saka uchinzi right yangu kuvhotera MP uyo wandakambovhotera ndisiwana. Saka uzvakanofamba sei ndakavhota sinditona registration ndakaisa pamageza.
Aiwa ndazvinzwa zvamataura. Zaka rinopisa musandipisa. Chinzwai zvandataura. Ndati isusu tiri kugadzira USSD code iya yekuti unogona kucheka pafoni. Handiti zvataiita muna 2018. Handiti ka tomboti zvino zvanga zvisisipo. Handi muri kundinzwa zvandikutaura. Ndati chishanu chezvondo rinoya pachinosvika munenge makwanisa kucheka neUSSD. Saka chimbondisunungura iwe ipapo. Mukaona zvechokwadi makakanganisirwa uyai munditsvage ndokukumbira riregerera. Aiwa izvozvo handikwanisi kuita nokuti kuvhota kuri mumapepa, kuvhota kune madates. Ndinogona kukukumbira riregerero kana bato rangu rakakanganisa kuti aiwa tine urombo nhau yenyu yakaresheka, makashandurwa polling station musingafanirwi kushandurwa polling station. Zvinoitika mumakombiyuta. Unogona kubaya pasiripo kana kuti anenge achiisa information anobaya pasiripo. Zvinozikanwa izvi. Kana muchitarisira kuti hapaitike mistake munokanganisirana wani nemamai yenyu mudzimba, ko zvima-election zvinotadza here kuita apa pane papapo pakakanganisira. Inini ndati ndiri kukupai chivimbo chekuti patakakanganisa tinobvuma kuti apa takakanganisa tokumbira ruregerero, togadzirisa. Ndozvandakuvimbisai. Handambobvira ndakamira pano ndichitaura kuti zvinhu zvedu zvese zvakachena unge mukaka. Wakambozviona kupi? Zvisina ching'ang'a. Zving'ang'a zvinowanika asi zvinogadzirwa. Mozosara muchigutswa navasilaigwana ndovanoita maoperations. Ndavagezera. Right, I've got 10 more minutes.
Ndanoda kungotera pachikumbiro chekuti dai tawana Kevin Mwonzora ndakamirira United Zimbabwe Alliance. Kunyora tsamba wanga muchitaura sedambudziko rekuti Zec arina ma-email ari pajekerere ekuti tinokwanisa kuita tichikanganadza mashaka.
Inawo mukaenda kuprovincial office munotowapiwa kana aPEO. Kusaziva chete ndine urombo hangu kukuinterruptai muri pakati pekutaura. Ndakuganurai. Kuprovincial office kana kudistrict office mukapasvika mukasvikotaura kuti ndiri kudawo email address yaDEO kana email address yaPEO, those are public ningirikini munoapiwa. Kana website yedu kana these are matters of public ningi munoapiwa. Kana manga musati mapiwa kana dai mukaashaya ndoda kukurumai nzeve. Mati mubva kupi constituency? Norton. PO Marsh West. Sumukai. Munhu wenyu uyu. Mozopedzerana munodzipana kana maakudya sadza masikati. Handi mavaona? Ibvai mavabata ivavo. I think Mr. Manyawo vanenge vachiita in his capacity as director PR at head office. But ndakuratidzai ka munhu wenyu handimamona. Munyatsomubata mutongese zvakasimba.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon.
My name is Chamisa from NCA. I'm a registered voter in Ward 31, Khupe Presser. My small question is, having appreciated, of course, that you are not compelled, as there might be possibility to do door-to-door voter registration. But I want to challenge you and ask you to say, is it a crime, say, suppose you decide to be innovative, to do door-to-door voter registration? Will you be sent clear for that?
All right, I think I've also read some reports that certain aspiring candidates have been arrested for doing door-to-door campaigns. I think Mozo Vunza stakeholder ZANU-PF, the reason why they were arrested is that, according to what I read, I have no personal knowledge, you are supposed to inform the ZRP that you will be conducting door-to-door campaigns, Nzvimbo yakati. This is what I read between these times. So, mozotaura handiti muri kuvaona ofisa vauya vakapfeka heti yavo yechipurisa yekuratidza kuti muvabvunza kuti kana ndakuda kunotendererawo magutu ndichinogogodza kumamisha ndichikampena, what are the conditions in terms of which ndinobvumidzwa. A lot of times I read it's violation of COVID-19 protocols, munenge makawandisa, but I'm not quite sure. In terms of campaigning, inini zvandinongoziva ndezvekuti kana kuda kuita marally, you must comply with COVID-19 protocols, less than 50 people, etc. Whatever's happening on the ground, I think munogona kuengage directly with the stakeholder from ZRP.
So my question was saying voter registration. I'm saying Zec. I started from the point where I said the body that deals with census is compelled to do door-to-door counting of the people. When I say Zec can also be innovative and do door-to-door voter registration.
I think in the afternoon, kana makuingenja na CEO, these are operational issues. Vanokwanisa kukutaurirai kuti voter registration campaign yavo yakamira sei. I know kuma province kwese nekuma constituency kwakadeployiwa vanhu vari kuita voter registration. I've been reading about some of them being innovative, vachinoparidza kuchechi kuti ini ndiri Zec voter registrator, tiri kuda kuti muzodai muzodi. So we already have people in each constituency or province vari kuita voter registration campaign on the ground. If you were to challenge the CEO right now, I think he has some statistics or a map where he can tell you. I don't know whether they're doing door-to-door, but I know they were deployed and vari kutenderera vari kufamba. Saka namati migutu nepakati havasati vasvika, muchavaona. Handiti mavaratidzwa vasilaigwana netimu yavo, mozovabvunza kuti kwangu kwagutu hakusati kwasvika vanhu vari kutenderera, sei vasati vasvika, vanokwanisa kukutsanangurirai. Kune vamwe vanga vakadeployiwa kuna Nambire vandoziva kuti vakanonoka kusvika because the marodhi anga akafladha, mota dzikambopinda mumadhaga. But I think vanhu vese matimu ese akadeployiwa, they are now on the ground. So if you would like to know them in Gutu, who are they? Gutu Central, havasi kusvika kwavanofanira kusvika. This is your chance to engage. This is an MPLC. Handiti tanzwanana.
Thank you,
madzokorora futi kune vari kumashure vasati vataura. Madzokorora munhu wandakumbira ruregerero. Kana ndakukumbira ruregerero muchine zvekutaura futi. Okay.
Well, I was just actually raising my hand from the beginning.
All right. Okay.
So, at last I got the chance. Let me just go back to one of the questions that I wanted to address. I mean, no, to be addressed to. It was actually talked about, but I was not really satisfied with the responses. I really want to share according to my experiences because I'm actually from the peripheries in marginal areas. We have in the question polling agents or not really polling agents, but the people who are seconded to Zec to carry on, or to carry out the election process, like start that you second. They normally don't get the opportunity to vote. Myself, I failed to vote in 2013, I failed to vote in 2018 because of that kind of scenario. I think that should be addressed in the next elections because of logistical issues. Yes, you cited the issue of my officers who are seconded to ZEC running my constituents are very best, but most of the times you really fail to go and vote because there is no such time, because there will be a lot of work that you have to go which my elections are found. So I want to think this kind of those issues can be addressed and everybody is accorded an opportunity to vote.
Okay. Can I come in here and just say, I'm sorry that it happened to you, that you were unable to exercise your right to vote twice. And I'm sure the CEO is hearing you. But what I would like to say is I'm even more sorry that perhaps we're not doing a good enough job of educating the seconded people to say they can actually access the postal vote. We're not going to put a postal vote. If you are deployed on national duty on election day, you should have been adequately educated to know that you can vote in advance. You apply for the postal vote.
Yes, ma'am. In 2018, I was supposed to vote through postal vote, but the envelopes could not come. So
I'm not quite sure what could not come means, sir.
The envelopes that we were supposed to vote through that postal vote system before the elections, we were told that the process was going to go through. But,
so it's an administrative issue,
yes,
which I'm sure the
yes,
CEO Varkuzhinzwa, and I'm sure he will improve on it and do better. I think, anditi munoziva kuti for the presidential candidate, munhu anonida 50% of total votes cast plus one vote. So I'm sure your one vote, you know your one vote counts, anditi. And I hope that in 2023, your vote will count.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And then, can I ask for the prizes for the voters' roll?
The prizes for the voters' roll, that's yes. Something. You said you are which constituency?
I'm from Roshida District, Chimanda.
March Central.
March Central, yes.
PO March Central, please show yourself. Esumukai amai monekwe.
Okay.
Munu wenyu. Kwete inini. Iva vanhu vari operational vanokupai maprize acho pepage ivavo. Okay. Last two questions or last question?
Last question. They are finished. Thank you very much.
Never let it be said that the Zec chair left the room with questions. Right.
Yes, we have unearthed anomalies in the voters' roll. We will promptly write to Zec as they suggested once we have concluded our studies, but we will write to them urgently on issues where we're having by-elections. For example, in Harare East, we've got 413 addresses that are written unknown, Greendale. So these people have got an unknown address and they found themselves on the voters' roll. In Khupe Central, we have over 48 people who are living on the one address. In Glenview South, we have over 500 voters that have been moved from one ward to another ward. So these are serious anomalies, issues of addresses, issues of fake IDs, issues of unknown addresses, and we keep piling, and these are the official voters' rolls that one we bought from Zec, and secondly our candidates have received from Zec as they prepare and as is required by law. So we will tackle this issue of the voters' roll head on. The law allows us to write to Zec. It also allows us to apply to Zec to exclude those particular voters should we do so 30 days before the election. So we will comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act, and we will make sure that our issues are laid to Zec and those issues are dealt with. Well, like our president said, this time we are marking them men to men. We are on their tail. We will make sure that the will of the people is achieved. We are not going to allow them to steal, allow them to manipulate, allow them to favor, while least we fold our hands and do nothing. The responsibility is upon us, both as a party and as citizens, to ensure that we safeguard our country. Our country cannot be safeguarded by individuals, it will be safeguarded by the citizens' collective effort. And we are inviting citizens to watch these anomalies, to put pressure on Zec, on everybody involved in the electoral process to behave in a manner that allows people to achieve a fair election. Well, look, as you could see, the chairperson was ducking and diving on the responsibilities that we were asking them. They were saying that we should go to court or we should go to someone else. We can't do that. They have to, one, answer the questions. Under the Electoral Act, they have the supervisory power to supervise the media, to supervise the conduct of the police, to supervise the conduct of their own officials. We cannot go to court with every problem that we have. There is a reason why the commission had to be headed by a judge. We needed somebody who could deal with issues without having necessarily to take them to court. Why would a judge be there? So we do not understand the answers. It's ducking and diving, and we hope that once we write the formal letters, once we take them to court, they will not duck and dive and return the responsibility to everyone else except themselves.
Indetwa Alexander Mavara from Patriotic Zimbabwean Party.
Indetwa Daisy Mushunje from Patriotic Zimbabwean Party.
Yeah, the issue of voters' roll is a bit hectic. Ne issue kuti tikatarisa, it seems like there is a delimitation isiri kuzikanwa nevanhu. Because if kana someone akaitwa transferred from one point paanga achivhotera kudhara ozonikwa zita rake risaoneke, which means there might be someone ari kuita temporary with that. Yeah, they said they are going to look into it, but we don't know how are they going to do it. Since tasarwa nemazomashoma kuti pine by election, meaning those people anenge asakwanise kuzoona kuti varimo here muvoters roll, they are not allowed to vote. Yeah, we can't say it's credible or not. I cannot comment on that. Yeah, we have to look into it because we cannot talk of not free and fair election without mentioning the issue of diaspora registration and voting outside there, because everyone outside there has a right to vote. Since I need right to vote, all political stakeholders, cinema representatives outside the country, isn't that so? So by denying them to vote, meaning to say, isusu takamirira electorate, tarambirwa tese, hapana kwate tiende.
So is it fair?
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
Is it free?
Not free.
It's not free.
That's why I said we cannot talk of free and fair election without mentioning the diaspora registration. The outcome might be a bit biased. Yeah, in some extent, of course, it highlighted A, B, C, D, but a lot of people seems to have on this part, how are we going to do it? But but inini zvangu handisina kunyanya kuzofara stereki because pane mamwe issues andaitwa directed to the parliament, whereby I expect Zec as the motherboard to look into those issues. Yeah, my main point here, we can talk of anything else. One, we got e-voting done everywhere. This is the modern system of voting. This is the modern system of registration. If someone wants to do it outside there, he can, or he or she can do it. But then, if you say in here in Zimbabwe we don't have the access to do it, so who is going to have the electoral reform? Who is going to approve for those electoral reform rather than Zec?
I'm Ngobista Masugu. I'm from Federation of African States, the only Pan-African political party in Zimbabwe so far. And also, yeah, I think well, on voters' roll, as the question was asked by different people inside the different stakeholders, but the answer that we received is that the voters' roll is said to be published by next week, I think Friday. That's where we are going to assess the voters' roll, and then from there we can start to talk further. Well, my response to that is that, in a political system, in fact, the political system is very complex on its nature. And also for now, yes, we complain about the ZEC because there are some of the certain issues that we say that are not free and fair on that side. But at some point, we have to reason beyond the system, that the system is very complex and is very toxic to the extent that we are not going to complain direct to ZEC. ZEC directs us to Parliament. If it's not Parliament, they direct us to Court of Law. So I think on that issue of ZEC, I think it's very tricky question to answer at the moment. But I think we have to come up with a system that is transparent to everyone, though it's transparent in book, but it should be implemented in atmosphere. We have no option but to trust the ZEC because it's the only running institution of the elections. Even though they are not free and fair elections, we have the avenues to challenge them in courts. And also I'm glad that the Chief Justice, the Justice said if it has the CEOs to tabulate their own results, and if ZEC announces the results, the CSOs can come up and announce their own results and say these results are different from ours. So these results are not accurate or they are accurate. So I think there are various avenues to do about it. We don't have option but just to do what is on the ground. Well, the meeting was useful to some extent because there's no 100% perfect, because we discussed some of various issues, and some of issues we got the answers and some we didn't got the answers, but we referred to Parliament and the courts. So I find it very difficult about ZEC. I think the political players and also the members of Parliament, they have to look at ZEC because ZEC seems like it's not liable to many questions. If you ask the questions, they refer you to the Parliament because they are saying they are only answerable to Parliament and also the courts of law. So I think for now ZEC is a toothless bulldog, if I may say. Or we have the issue of doing with the what I can refer to this one of changing like system, introducing the digital system, and also of media, and also of holding elections and everything. There are a lot of questions that were not answered by ZEC. They said you go to Parliament and you seek clarity, and if they said you are going to be voted in Parliament and that's your task to change those laws. Well, as a party, we have a couple of questions to ZEC, and then we asked the ZEC on the question of voter education, that they are not doing enough on the ground to educate the masses, because right now the masses, they don't know why they should register to vote and why they should vote. And also we suggested that maybe they include other stakeholders, but I'm glad that we find the answer. They said every citizen is got the right to take part in the voter education. You just simply have to write a letter to ZEC and they will add you on their database and you can do that one. I've got the answer on that one. And also we had the complaints to ZEC about the issue of disclosing the information of our members who are contesting in early elections to the members of intelligence. And I didn't get the direct answer. They started to tell me that ZEC has got the right to work with everyone regardless of what and what. So I found that one something fishy about the system of ZEC. And also we raised the issue of teachers who usually deployed to voting stations. Those people over the years, they were not voting. and they constitute a large number of voting. They say they have the system of postal system, but it seems that system is not working. The other one went on to say we applied to do that and we were told that there were no envelopes and they didn't vote. He said he did that twice without voting. So we pleaded with them that they should make sure that those people who are deployed to that station, they should register to vote in that station. And also I found the clarity that when they demonstrated that they were going to be this process of voting, during their demonstration there was no clear chance for those who are overseeing the elections that they could vote during that day. While they are saying those people, they are the voters in that station, but we didn't find an alternative for those people to vote. So we raised that issue, and they said now because of COVID protocols, they are going to recruit internally in that constituent or locally based.
My name is Enoch Dambudzo. I'm here on behalf of Honorable Paul Mangwana, who's the Secretary for Legal Affairs for ZANU-PF, and I'm a lawyer in the Legal Affairs ZANU-PF. So I'm here to represent ZANU-PF in the multi-party liaison committee discussions. Okay, you know, a voter's roll, every year, everyone turns 18. Someone turns 18, some people die, so it needs constant revision. So my view is that I encourage all political parties, mine included, that's the process we are undertaking, to get a copy of the voter's roll, look at it, make an audit to make sure that what's on the paper is tallying maybe with your supporters, and things that you expect. Because if you don't inspect the voters' roll, we don't expect Zec to do the job for us. Zec makes it available, we go and look at it. So I can't say we are happy or we are not happy, but we are in the process of inspecting the voters' roll to see if it tallies with what's on the ground. Zec has proved itself as an independent forum to conduct elections as an independent body. You know, these accusations will always fly, but then Zec has been above board with these meetings. It actually gives us an opportunity to inspect or to remedy things that we complain about even after elections. There are processes. So one cannot cry foul after not taking part in the processes. And then when they lose the election, they start crying again, running back to Zec. We cannot do that. Our observation is ZANU-PF is that Zec is an independent body in terms of the constitution, which takes instructions from no one. They conduct their own businesses. And if anyone has any qualms or any misgivings about Zec's operation, they have the right to petition the right offices to make sure that the independence of Zec is investigated. But as of now and up until now, we have no reason to question the independence of Zec whatsoever. We don't have complaints per se, but we just want Zec to be firmer on people, defaulters, on the code of conduct. You know, we understand that Zec has no punitive or judiciary power, but that's something that can be looked at as well. But we want them to be firmer on people who announce results prematurely, people who desist from observing certain dictates of the Electoral Act. For example, not accepting the results of an election, but taking part in the election at the same place. Yeah, so those are some of the things. So it's not a complaint against Zec or against anyone. So let me just say in a nutshell, I encourage all Zimbabweans to respect our institutions, give confidence in our institutions, and respect the results of an election. If we are not satisfied with the result of an election, we have so many forums and so many platforms to air our views legally. We can approach the courts, electoral court, or the constitutional court to get relief from them. But after we approach those courts, we must be ready again to accept the decisions of the courts as binding. So that would be my answer to that. Okay. The meeting was very useful. It was very useful as a platform to regurgitate what we learned in 2018 and to buttress some principles as well. And it's also a platform that we as political parties can coordinate in one place on what we need Zec to do. So yeah, I think it was useful in as far as it is a platform that any party which has any reservations again about what Zec does, they have a chance to air them out in the presence of every political party so that Zec can address them. And I think the chair to Zec did that very well today to address some of the accusations and some of the fears that the contestants have. So I think these platforms are useful And I encourage all the parties to observe what has been learned here, to implement what has been learned here, because it actually goes a long way in allaying some of the allegations that come after the electoral period. I cannot respond to some of the things, because responding to them, I'll be giving them credence. Yeah, at this point at best, I can simply laugh at them, because really Zec hasn't manipulated results in favor of ZANU-PF. In 2018, there was a parallel tabulation that was done by ZESNI, which confirmed the results that were given by Zec. So really, I don't believe that Zec has been manipulating, but those who make those allegations are at large to prove to the rest of Zimbabwe how those manipulations take place, where and when. Because it's easy to manipulate the public, you know. It's easy to manipulate the public, to play with people and tell them what you want to tell them and reserve the truth to yourself. But going into this election, and even 2023, let's be candid with our supporters. There's no harm in admitting defeat. There's no harm in accepting that the better party won. We will contest to win the following elections. But in as far as this accusation goes, I wouldn't really give them credence.